is to fix your eyes on Jesus. I love the story of Peter. He's out in the boat with the disciples. There's a storm happening, and they see Jesus walking out on the water. And they call out, like, Jesus, if that's you, let us know, because we're really freaked out right now. And Jesus is like, hey, my brothers, it's me. And Peter is like, it's you! Jesus, I want to come out to you. And Peter climbs over the boat, and he is walking on the water out to Jesus. Now, to me, when I read this story, I see it as like Peter was like a lovesick fool. Crazy man. Like only a person in love. I've talked about this before. When you're in love, you do crazy things. When I first fell in love with my husband, let me tell you, I was nuts. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. He's all I wanted to talk about. Okay? When you are in love, you are just out of your mind. You can just, you could walk out in the street and get hit by a car and your arm's falling off and you're like, ha ha ha. I'm in love. It just doesn't even matter. Peter was lovesick. He saw the one that he loves, and he heard his voice, and he knew his voice, and he so wanted to be where he was. I mean, have you ever thought about what would possess him? I mean, couldn't he have just waited for Jesus to get across the water and to get in the boat? But that's like not enough for him. It's not enough. He actually wanted to run out on the water to meet Jesus, to be with him. Crazy man. There is no other explanation for that except that he is out of his mind in love. Are waves around me. And he immediately became afraid and began to sink. And of course we know the story. Jesus came and got him up and was like, you of little faith. Come on, Peter. Keep your eyes on me. Remember? Come on. And this is what happens in our walk with the Lord. That when we can keep our eyes fixed on him, when we keep our ears attentive to his voice, it doesn't matter what kind of circumstances or what kind of storm comes up. We can walk through every single storm because we keep our eyes on him. Our greatest enemy in this is distraction. It's distraction. It's the thing that comes and tries to pull our eyes away and to say, but look, what about this? What about this? Well, how are you going to pay for that missions trip the Lord's called you to do? Well, how are you going to do this? Well, what about this? I mean, there's all these distractions, these things that will come to try to take your eyes off of him and to look at the circumstances and to take your eyes off of the one that you love. And that's when we start to sink. But what do you do when the waters rise? What do you do when the storm comes? Do you fix your eyes on him? Do you listen for his voice? Skylar always talks about this really great thing of wanting to keep ourselves in a place where there's like this doorway. And on one side of the doorway is the Father, it's his presence, it's his voice. And we're standing right here in the doorway where just the slightest whisper, the slightest move of his spirit, we're right there. We can just step right in and just connect with what he's doing and walk it out with him. But when we take our eyes off of him and we start giving in to these distractions or the fears or whatever it is that's coming up against us, we start putting these things in between us and him. And by the time we finally hear him speaking, we've got to push through all these things that we've allowed in the way just to get back to that place where we're walking connected hand in hand with him. Do you understand? It's so important that we don't take our eyes off of him. It's so important that when any kind of circumstance, even the really amazing things, even when something so exciting and so big happens, even the really awesome things can be that distraction to take our eyes off. I'm not saying don't enjoy good things. I'm just saying fix your eyes on him and listen for his voice and keep yourself in that place where just the slightest whisper is all it takes to attract your full attention and to be ready to walk with him. This is so important in keeping our hearts soft and in yielding our hearts to him and allowing him to transform our hearts. When I'm talking about the condition of our heart, I'm talking about keeping our hearts in a place where we're not so guarded. You know, Katie sang it in that song today, the Ocean song. You guys love that song? It's so pretty. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Do you know what we're saying there? Okay, first of all, that is a bold statement. It's huge. All of you who just sang that this morning, let me bring the reality of what you just sang. You just said to the Lord, you know what? My trust in you is without limit. So you go ahead and you lead me wherever you want. Lead me through any situation, through any storm, through any circumstance, and my trust will be constantly in you. It will be without borders, without any limitations. Just take a moment, let that sink in. That's huge. So often, and I have done this, I have had those moments where I get fearful, I get afraid, I turn into a control freak, and I'm like, I don't know, God, can I trust you? Can I trust you? I don't know. And to really let go and to say, God, I will put no borders around my trust in you. And no matter what you want to lead me through, no matter what I'm walking out, I'm walking with you, I'm trusting you, I will trust you every step along the way. And to allow him to really move in our hearts, transforming our hearts, bringing healing to our hearts. So many of us, we get saved and we stop at that. We don't realize that there's a whole journey the Lord wants to bring us on in transforming us to become more like him. Amen. The third one, the last one, is to live in constant surrender. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is my, what I feel like is my little secret. This is what I do and I hold so close in my own life, of living in a place of constant surrender. I'm going to read something real quick. John 15, verse 9. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have obeyed my Father's commands and remain in his love. This is Jesus speaking. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that he lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I learned from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. Then the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. When I read this, I always used to hear the part where he says, greater love has no man than this, that he lays down his life for his friends. And I immediately went to just thinking that, you know, he's referring to our friendships, these people in our lives, the people God brings in our lives, you know, that we love them. We love them, that we lay down our life for them. And then I realized that, yeah, well, that's part of it. The very next thing that he says is, you're my friend. I call you friend. And he's referring to himself in this moment. He's saying, what you don't know is I'm about to go and lay down my life for you, but I'm asking you to do the same for me. your friend. I'm asking you to lay down your life, to surrender your life completely to me. To live your life in a place of constant surrender to him. I love that he says, you did not choose me, but I chose you. The Bible says that we love him because he first loved us. And I could probably talk all day about God's love because it's my favorite thing to talk about. And if you've ever heard me talk before, you hear me talk about it all the time because I love to talk about it. Because one taste, one encounter with God's love, and it changes everything. That's all it takes, is one encounter with God's love. It's contagious, absolutely contagious. And I love that the word says that we love him because he first loved us. He formed us, he created us, he chose us, he called us, he loves us. And he wants to walk in intimacy with us. He wants to walk hand in hand with us. He wants us to be constantly in a place where we are yielding our hearts to him and allowing him to change us and to transform us, to make us the best version of ourselves that we could be. I recently went through a situation in my life where it was just a difficult situation, and I was feeling a lot of pain and a lot of frustration. I was feeling some anguish. I was feeling just a lot of emotions, and something felt really familiar. And I went and I prayed, and I was just asking God, what is this I'm feeling right now? Something is familiar about this, about these feelings. Am I going around a mountain here? Did I miss something I was supposed to get somewhere back along the way? And I suddenly realized what was happening. God reminded me of this time when I was walking through a lot of inner healing. I had, surrendered my life to God. I'm going through the school of ministry. I'm constantly putting myself in this place where I'm allowing God to do a lot of work in me. And for those of you who don't know my story or my testimony, I'm sure it's floating around on YouTube. I won't get into it. Except I'll just say that I had a lot of circumstances and things in my childhood that were really difficult for me. And I had a lot of wounds inside of me that I was carrying. And I had a lot of rejection. I had a lot of fears. And I had a lot of offense at God. And I was feeling a lot of these emotions, and I was trying to walk out this journey of healing. And I remember this one day, I was meeting with a counselor who was helping me walk through a lot of this healing. And I could see Jesus standing in front of me, and he was asking me to surrender everything to him. To surrender my life, surrender my heart, to surrender everything to him. And I felt a little confused at first, like I kind of thought I already did that. But when I looked, I realized that it wasn't enough just to give my life and say, okay, Jesus, come into my heart. I'm a Christian now. Yay. It wasn't enough for that. What he was asking me was all these other things that I was holding on to, the pain, the offense, the wounds, the unforgiveness, all these other things that were in my heart that I was kind of trying to hide from him and act like he didn't know about them. Hello. I could feel him asking me to surrender those. And in that moment, okay, I'm going to be super honest. In that moment, I felt angry. Like, God, I feel like I surrendered my entire childhood. I feel like I have given everything. I feel like I have been poured and just emptied out. There is nothing left. I am just a shadow of a person standing here.